Hi, welcome to Mystic Moons. I hope everyone is doing well. And thank you for joining me on today's adventure, today's extended adventure. And you could say, what is that? Well, you all read the heading of today's topic. Adjustments. We live in a strange world. And many times we can't think more than just the minutes ahead and the minutes behind us. Other people's lives are offered as tokens of distraction, tokens of time. That's a strange thing to say about someone's life, isn't it? Our lives, but we all go according to time. Now, we've heard today, the 19th of December, is an ominous time for many things to happen, many things to have happened. Now, we humans live on hour-by-hour basis. However, not all of us live on an hour-to-hour basis. Many of us humans, and those infused with other type of non-human elements, live in a totally different tick-tock constraint. What is that? They live in blocks. 10 years could be 1 week of our time. They plan things out. So we don't live on just a random type of reality, our societies. No. There are groups that are orchestrating time into segments that suit them, not the masses that live in these 7-day, 24/7 sitcom bits. So let us relax today and take a critical look at timing and motivation. Once again, we welcome at Mystic Moons. Mystic Moons welcomes all types of comments, inquiries, and energy levels. If you don't hesitate to say what you want to say. But we are taking a special trip today. So make sure that if you're listening to this, you're comfortable in your own skin, because we're going to take a sordid journey, a journey through time and place and meaning. And we all have watched television, right? Television. We've all have watched movies, entertainment. And we hear the gravelly noises of our brains working in this construct of what time can be. So the sun comes out in the daytime and the moon comes out in the evening. We operate on that planetary aspect. But it's more to it than that. How do we feel those anticipation of the moon coming out and the sun coming out? And then we toil, we sweat, we labor for different reasons, for survival. All of us do. And there always seems to be someone at the top and someone at the bottom and others in the middle. We live in the United States in a society that mainly trains you to be in the middle, not high, not low. And those who have gone in the high get our attention, and those that go in the low receive our scorn. It's better not to even try than never to succeed. That's the motto of Americana. Don't break the mold and don't fill the mold. Hello, how are you? So I want you to sit down in your most comfortable spot. You don't have to watch what I do. Just listen. Listen to in the cool of the night, in the coldness of winter, stay warm. Put a blanket around you or something. Ease your mind and hop in your astro form into the Mystic Moon's shuttle. Because today we're going to need that vehicle, that shuttle. Because we are going into a trip, a criminal investigation, a psychic criminal investigation. And I want you to feel that you're not alone taking this trip. I'm not alone, I'm with you. And we're not alone because we are with the cosmic energies. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. So just relax, close your eyes if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything but just be aware that there are energies around. Energies. Some human, some not human. Some good, some bad. Some just confused. And when we talk about confusion, imagine being born into a family of affluence. Or just people know your name. You know, you're not an anonymous person. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about murder. Murder of an affluent entertainment family. Thank you for the hearts. Now, this family, Reiner, Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, were brutally and completely murdered a few days ago. And we've been handwalked through the time of this and that and this and that. And it's all very sad. My condolence to the family. However, let us dig further into this. Let us dig further into this. Rob Reiner was the son of a successful TV star, Carl Reiner. He used to, if you look into Nickelodeon or those old Take Me Back in Time movies, the Dick Van Dyke Show. Dick Van Dyke has turned 100 years old a few days ago, and he's still ticking. Bravo, bravo. But we're talking about, timing, right? Time and place. There's a lot of speculation of what happened years and years and years and years ago. But today, what has happened in or happens in entertainment is a little bit more raggedy, a little bit more out in the open. And we do know that people will sell their souls for wealth and other, material goods. And the fact that you know me, there are people out there that must have people that say, I know you, I know you, I know you. And there's other people that don't give a damn if you know them or you don't know them. And of course, there's mixies of each facet. Now, Carl Reiner raised his son a certain way. And you can imagine being a comedian that had to get laughs, the pressure, that had to get somewhere, the pressure of it all. Trying to make it out in your own business as anybody, whether you're delivering goods, physical goods, picking up garbage, managing something, a firm. It's pressure. Now, people, and you don't get ahead unless you know someone. You must know someone. And when you know someone, it doesn't mean like, hey, how are you doing? Hey, Billy, hey, Billy, hey, Billy. You don't say, hey, Billy, all the time. You got to get further into it. You have a few drinks together. You find out more about the people that you must deal with to get ahead. Right? The people you must deal with. Now, show business people, we've heard Epstein. And then we think about, just slightly off track, Epstein drop was supposed to be today, as well as Three Eye Atlas supposed to be. The closest contact. Now, it's just a matter of coincidence that the two dates are the same. Now, because both deal with illusion and perception. Illusion and perception. Now, let's also go back to the history. Nick is accused of murdering his father, Rob, and his mother, Michelle. Rob is the son of Carl, third generation. Now, how come the third generation is a complete mess? A complete mess. A complete mess. By the age of 22, we're told that he had spent already 17 years in rehab. 17 years by the age of 22. And we're also told that the last rehab that he goes to, especially the last one, and the one that they wanted to throw him in again, costs $70,000 per month. And you could say, oh, well, they're rich, they can afford it. They can write it off as a tax write-off. But $70,000 a month. And what is the mean income of Americans today? $35,000, $45,000, $1,000 a year. Now this place is charging twice that amount per month. Okay. All right. If you can do it, more power to you in one way. However, was Nick getting the help he needed? And how did he get that way? How did he get so crazy? That's okay, schizophrenia, whatever you want to call it. How did he become mental ill? So you can see the way this scenario is filling out. Mental illness is a serious problem in America. All right, okay. Now, if we're not told the truth about who and what we are and what we're here for, of course, people that have the energy spilling out until other places. Because a lot of people are realizing that we live in a paper cardboard box, in a dollhouse of a reality that's orchestrated to us by someone who may not have the best interest in our, for our needs. And who said we need to have a big daddy or big mama to do this and that for us? I think there's they say the horse before the cart or whatever, the ass before the head, whatever. You don't understand. Pin the donkey, It's all stupid. It's all lame. It's all lacking directive, lacking intelligence. But let's get back. Let's get back to this story of Nick, 22 years old and been in the rehabilitation, drug rehabilitation. Now, why was he there, put in there in the first place? Let's backtrack a little bit, a little history, all right? A little history. Now, in the year 2000, that's 26 years ago, 27 years ago, a while ago, a couple of decades ago, you've heard of this man, Al Franken. Al Franken was a comedian who turned politician. He became a senator, in fact. In the year 2000, in the year 2000, I can't even say it, the year, because it was like so many things have happened. But you can find it too. You can find it if you listen and you doubt what I'm saying. But Al Franken was making a joke. Now, 26 years ago, they used to joke about child molestation, pedophilia. It used to be the topic of joke. And there is a video of Al Franken joking about Nick's grandfather, Carl, actions towards his father, Rob. Did you get that? You get that connection? Nick is the grandson of Carl. And Al Franken was joking to Rob, overweight Rob, who probably didn't have the best of upbringing. And he was making jokes about his weight and his reasons for packing on the pounds. Now, Al Franken, he was a well-known comedian at the time. He made jokes about, not just one joke, about how Rob, Nick's daddy, was often the subject of inappropriate action with his father, Carl. Put it that way. You can go look. These things are all searchable. Searchable. Now, the father was made his money, his fame on the Dick Van Dyke Show. And Dick Van Dyke is 100 years. Just to put you the mentality of people changing, or the mentality of the way it was when there was Hollywood was this big, ominous universe that you did not touch. Untouchable. Now, we all know what what the holly is used for. It's used in satanic type of ritual types of ceremonies. Holly, and named after that. So put the 2 and 2 together and let's start the math. Now, Al Franken said his father did inappropriate actions. He used language that was more pedestrian to the mass, to his audience. He was also saying that after his father, he did all sorts of actions to his son, implied, as well as corporal and other actions. He also implied that other famous comedians he invited to also have activities with Rob, overweight Rob at the time. Now, this is pretty harsh to say all this, but this is part of what we're building up to. In fact, of like a person 22 years old being in the rehab 17 times. By the time he was 22, the reasons he perhaps had that, like father, like son, like the treatment. Now, who was the looker of the family? It was Nick in the beginning. And also, Nick slit the throats of his mother and his father. And the important part of this, drugged. Nick was drugged. You know that? Drugged. I'd say, well, rehab isn't running laps. Rehab is a combination of talking about your experiences, reliving your experiences, and taking medication to be able to deal with that rehashing and trying to make sense of it. Okay, back again. Now, Rob, who was raised with a father who was a little cavalier in his actions, in his greed to get ahead. And there's a question mark there. Now, his grandfather, Carl, used to have his buddies. His buddies were like, let's see, Danny Kaye, Paul Lynn, Don, what was his name? Di Lorenzo? Not Di La. There is a famous, I forget his name. His first name is Don, but you can go and check this out. And even his uncle. Now, these people were famous at the Rod. There was Rid Taylor. There was also Rock Hudson. Now, Rock Hudson was outed when AIDS first came out public as he was the leading ladies' man of Hollywood, and he turned out to be like a raving homosexual, meaning he was distressed by the fact that he had to hide who he was. Now, thank goodness, men don't have to do that. Men and women don't have to hide their homosexual activities anymore. It's not like a big secret. But then it was a big secret. It was a deal breaker. It was a contract. It was the end of your thing. As many other things would be the end of your thing. So, in 2000, jokes on pedophilia were standard. Were no big deal. No big deal. And the affiliation of going to get eating pizza, we all know is a pseudonym for child abusement, rape, stuff like that. Now, all those things were words that the masses were not even attuned to pay attention to. They didn't even have the thought about it. And in fact, you can find there's more than one incidences about Reiner, Rob, the murdered father, being roasted on those very topics. So we're having to say that, is Nick really Nick? Is the highlight only being centered on him because the coffin, the vampire coffin, the lid is not firmly put down on it? In fact, it is, you can open it up. You can open it up, right? And the reason that Nick had all this emotional distraught was what? Was the fact that maybe Nick is a victim of abuse, hush, hush, abuse. That he needed the drugs to keep his sanity. He needed the drugs to keep his mind functional. And if his drugs were changed a few weeks ago, and his behavior became erratic even more. So if you are, let's say you're a person, you're out in the town. Now, if you have a drink, you're drinking at a bar, you drove your car to a bar, and you drank, and then the bartender just goes, okay, so thank you, slap you, and like, okay, have a good time. You paid up your tab, and you're off on the streets again. You're out on the road again, and you have an accident. Who else is responsible besides you in this manslaughter? So it would be the bartender who knew he was plying you full of alcohol and knew that you were going out driving. There's a culpability in who pulled the blade, who did this and who did that. And then you have the strangeness of the President of the United States commenting on a murder, a horrible thing, murder, and saying that was best for the country. Not the exact words, maybe they are the exact words, but saying the United States was better. America, North, South, Central, was better off without that person. And why? Why did they have this, two pit bull and Rottweiler type relationships barking at each other? Not friends. Every single comment. Why would these things, when people, I've known people that are political, that they have different things going on, that they need a distraction from thinking about, or people talking about them, and they throw off energy to someone else so you can't dig. Now, Nick was an open box. He was an open bag. He was a magician's cap. He was a rabbit being pulled out, and how many rabbits are going to come out of that cap of what had happened in his early childhood, what he was subject to at the age of 6. Now, when these jokes about pedophilia, which were quite common in the year 2000, Nick was only 6 years old. He was 6 years old. 6 years old, right? 6 or 7, something like that. He was a first or second grader. Cute little thing, too. A cute little boy. And, hello, he was cute. So, what does cuteness get you in the world of looks? How many child stars and their families have been put in an awkward situation? It makes you think, doesn't it? But the more important part is drugged Nick. Drugged Nick. Is he just a drug? Was he just a ploy for distraction? Human life should not be that way. Human life should not be so disregarded. Human life should not be that way. And when it's treated that way, it hurts all of us. It hurts all of us. It hurts all of us. It's a wound in our development. It's a demotion. It's more than that. It's pain. It's pain, negativity, and who does it serve? To whom is this incident serve? Now, Do therapists, I asked a question out there, therapists out there, do you just take drugs subscribe drugs to people and not know the emotional effect on the person that you filling out the prescription or making them take, making them take? Because if I'm not a drug addict, I haven't been in those type of functions, groups, but I do know that you cannot participate in these programs unless you follow their 1, 2, 3, 9 to 9, lights out, lights on routine. That's what you're paying all the money for. Now, psychosis is a difficult thing. Schizophrenia is another form of psychosis. Mental health is something that we talk of money in mental health. Obviously, if you could charge $70K a month for rehab, it shows you how much money. That's not counting how much government and state and local city funds. This is about Nick Reiner. This is a criminal investigation on him and what drove him. Is he alone the sole murderer? The person who, if somebody is pulling your hand, if someone is telling you to pull your hand, if you are psychotic and psychosis enough for someone to tell you to slit somebody's throat. Now, slit your father, kill your father. Why did you do that? Many of us do not have good relationships with our parents, alive or deceased. Many of us do. But the point is, when you're an adult and you have control over, you're the guardian of someone younger, someone that you birth, someone that you have guardianship over, legal guardianship, and their actions, what did you do to make that person that way? What happened? What happened in entertainment business, in the ritualistic pathways of a laugh? And then we've heard too, many different types of things have happened. When you sign that contract with those big companies, what are you signing away? Now you can look at those old movies and you can say a lot of them weren't worth anything. There are a few that were really good, but a lot of them were just propaganda. This is the way it is or should be. So let's find out. You've heard you've seen old movies. You've heard about the fact that Nick is the grandchild of Carl Reiner, a successful comedian, TV actor, of Rob Reiner. Same thing. Successful. Now, to get success, you can be a one-hit wonder, right? One good cue doesn't make a lifetime of achievement. So what do you have to do? You go to parties, you eat out, you snooze, you do this, you do that. Now, this and that is where the Diddy and the Epstein things come into play. Now, there are people that are gatekeepers of warehouses, of stage, of film, of things. Now, besides getting the cash, people expect more because they could get the cash from anywhere. Talent, we're in a rich country, 50 states. Talent is everywhere. Talent is not a mystery of you got it and you don't. We know that. How many singers out there? How many artists out there? How many musicians are out there? And we do know that people like a little more in the pot to sweeten the deal for you and you to go above you and me and them. A lot of pronouns in there, right? A lot of pronouns. So let's start picking and seeing. Will this open up? The first thing we get is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is a nasty situation. It's a nasty situation of which you're trying to roll this whole thing into time, a champion of mental illness. Now, the fact that he cannot be prosecuted if he does not have sound mind, if he is declared insane, 17 times in rehab, a history of drugs usage, rehab, medication. So it can be farmed out. His toils can all be filed away with this mental illness campaign, right? It could all be filed away. Could be. His 10 of Wands. Also, too, and we see in the United States, what are they trying to make everything mental illness? And the state, in fact, New York State has decreed you can medically kill yourself. You can euthanasia. You can euthanize yourself just like you do your pets. If life becomes too great because of mental or physical illness, boom, 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 you can be put into an oven and destroyed. Of course, you would take the drugs to take your little trip to the afterlife a little bit more pleasant, but you can end your life. So life has become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, which is why this Knight of Swords, it's easier to put the mental illness, mysterious mental illness, on a young person, a person who has been plagued by what? What happened in that house? What happened between that little boy, Nick, and those people that Nick's daddy and grandfather hung out with? I'm sure they just didn't bring a football and play games. And this is the element, Hollywood magician. We can spin this anyway. But then again, are we going to let the drugs that fused him, is this going to open up the door? There's so many things going up, which is why we have one distraction after another distraction. Now, was he the murderer? If you are possessed with drugs, if you are possessed with someone telling you an authoritative voice, telling you, baiting you. Now, if somebody has mental problems and you're over and over and over and over again, things that are sensitive to you are not necessarily sensitive to someone else, right? Now, we're all guilty of being insensitive. However, that's probably where the similarities end. What do we do to keep ourselves on top? And that's where, look at all these painful cards. We have the 8 of Swords. We have the 10 of Wands. We have this neat excuse. But then why would so many people get involved in this, from the President of the United States downward, upward? All these people, they've been shaken. You know why they'd probably be shaken? Because they signed those contracts. They signed those contracts. You have to look at the almost Faustinian, Faust contracts. And remember Gene Hackman and his death. To protect whom? To benefit whom? Who benefit from this? This little magic of Hollywood. This terrible, terrible torment. Now, how can you give someone life imprisonment when they're mentally ill? And then you have to figure out, how come all these murders are driven by people under pharmaceutical mood enhancers or stabilizers? Right? How can you? How can you do that? How can you do that? It's almost as though this is a neat open and shut case. Son killed father in a rage. But it's more than that. There's much more than that. Of course, the quest for keeping it shut. However, that is that Al Franken 2000 video out there joking about many incidences of Rob's pedophilic background. Rob Reiner. Yeah. Father like son. Get used to that. Now, if a father would, if it's a joke and ha ha, he, we can't laugh about that anymore. We don't we don't tell those type of jokes. And this is from a senator, a person, a very brilliant man, writer, screenwriter, actor, comedian. It's an act. And then politician. Sure, a lot of laughs. We're laughing at children's expense. And we're still taking advantage of children and old people. Children and old people. Then we have a timing card. So this basically, this timing card, I would put either it's time to bury it or time to, you can't promote the mental illness without taking the subject of the mental illness, what led you there. This is a path that leads us to all, which means there are unfit parents because you're born in this world, not born evil. No one is born evil, but you can be driven insane. You can be driven hopeless, depression. And then with pharmaceuticals, or just being touted away until you're able to be serviced again. We have a lot to explore in this Nick Reiner. And the pharmaceutical element cannot be denied. Cannot be denied. And they will be something. They will be held accountable. Held accountable. It's something that they are debating. There's a timing on this to put these elements of the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Swords together. Fire and air. Fire and air. Drugs? Are drugs really good for us? Drugs. Can they heal us? Continually. You would think that they were skilled enough. Therapist, psychologist, to help this poor, vacantly shattered person to work out years ago. But however, how could he work out a situation when he was constantly on the menu? Constantly on the menu. So I would say that this is a very auspicious time. Like the Knight of Swords, the year of the horse. Are we going to be quiet? Are we going to be quiet at the abusive children? Are we going to, is this more of a case, besides just ending a murder, he did not act alone. Did he act alone? That's a question. They're going to say he's too insane to say his own, he's too scrambled mentally. The death penalty, he won't get it. No. A study, perhaps. A study. At some point, yes. But he will not get the death penalty. No. It's too sad and pathetic. And what will come out? Years and years and years of torture. Years and years and years. And the ego of the family, which is heartbreaking. The reality of what happened and also how it happened. It won't come out right away in totality because there's too many things being thrown at the people and these headers. It's the same thing with other Hollywood tragedies. They just pause. Eating away at the soul of what kind of people are we? Sexual freaks, indulgence, apathetic. How many times do we have to only on Christmas listen to Scrooge, Christmas Carol, Dickens, the cruelty of people? When we can like look and see from house to house, apartment to a condo, to this, to that, tent to tent, how much abuse that we're giving each other. And it's okay. It's okay. No, it's not okay. Because our development as a species, as a union, is being shattered. Shattered. Because we're being put like a dozen eggs. A dozen eggs. There are many Nicks out there. Many fathers, many mothers are abusing their children and extinguishing them, and sons and daughters are doing the same to their mothers and fathers. It's like, yes, you can be born into an effed up family. Walk away. We don't teach people or give people the treatment. They can just walk away. And Nick could not walk away because why? Too shattered, or he was too useful, or too shattered to be whole again. Lots of sickness. It's not a murder trial. It's something else. It's something else. Yes, they were brutal. The couple was brutally murdered. But the details, he was not alone. And why? Why now? Why? Why now? Under the conditions of these drugs, pharmaceutical drugs and other types of drugs. And we must know from chemistry, from simple mixing this and mixing that together, that certain things should not be, ingredients should not be consumed. And we know too, if you were making a culinary food, certain things you don't mix. Mentally, in our bloodstream, certain things you don't mix unless you wanted a particular effect. That's the psychology. That's the psychology of Nick Reiner's murder indictments. He's not the only one. He's not the only one. It's almost as though if you had a dog and it bit someone, killed someone, ended the life of someone, no, the dog would be destroyed, correct? Of course. But would you be free to walk around and say, it's not my fault, it's the dog's fault? Now you can make a human being feel just like that type of dog. And you can say, it's the dog's fault, it's his fault. To a degree. But to another degree, it's not alone. It's not alone. It's not alone. Now, we took a trip today. Think about it. We took a time, elements, and what's being levied at us as a people. One element of this passage, of this family life, of this industry life, we're receiving one element. But who else is involved in this murder? What else is involved in this murder? It's not just Nick. No. He could have been the drug wheel of this something, of this end of life. But it's very, very complicated. And they're doing their best to read the hopelessness of Nick into open and shut. Go back in your cage, disappear. But that's not the answer. It's not the answer. And this is not to give the family any type of more grief. This is something that has to be addressed. He was not the only person. Not the only one. And all that is where the truth lies of this situation. What do you think? What do you feel? Don't you feel a young child, jokes 26 years ago about pedophilia being ha ha, ha ha. It's a hollow ha ha, isn't it? It's hollow. Epstein, Diddy, the business, Hollywood, elements of it. No hiding anymore. No hiding. Now I'm going to leave this for your comments. Think about the elements. Cute little boy, a family that they was joked about, pedophilia, the family with 3 generations. So at the time, Nick was only 6 or 7 years old, a young little boy, beautiful little boy. And we do know the appetites of show business, men in entertainment, men that have a lot of conquest and power, associations, a little child. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. And this is a topic that is a bit strange. But as we go into 2026, we have to change our world. We have to get real. We are going to have a lot more things thrown at us. And we have to discern what angle, what is being said, and how does it affect us? Because there is a trickle down, which is why it's in our face. A trickle down. Well, think about it. Until the next time. Now, if you care to give Mystic Moons a $1 gift, a $2 gift, we all appreciate it. Thank you. Or a jewel. I'd say for more introspective and searching. It takes a lot to think about moving the energies. Now you were all still in the floating around. Floating around. It takes a lot to move the ether, to push the air, push the vibrations around to where it should be considered. Should be considered. Thank you again. Bye-bye.